All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Robert Saleh met with the media yesterday right before the second OTA practice for the New York Jets, the first one that was open to the media, and Sauce Gardner came up. And there was a question regarding the plan for Gardner in 2024, if he's going to be following the number one wide receiver more so this season, because, as we all know, Gardner is one of, if not the best corner in football. It's debatable, but I would say what's not debatable is Gardner being a top 5 guy. I mean, the size, the quickness, those two things combined with each other, you just don't really see. You just don't really see the instincts, the ball skills, the ability to not shy away from tackles. I mean, again, fantastic corner. He was a great prospect. Everybody knew he was going to be a great pro. He winds up with the New York Jets at spot number 4 and has not disappointed. Rookie of the year, 2-time All-Pro. The dude's legit. We all know this. But one of, I don't want to say his critics, but, if you're arguing against Sauce, you would say, okay, well, he's not that traditional guy that follows the number one wide receiver around. He's not like Darrelle Revis, where Rex Ryan could just put him on anybody and he would just clamp him for the entirety of the game. And it didn't matter who, 6'5" Megatron or a slot wide receiver or even a tight end, right? We're not seeing Gardner bounce around like that. And part of it is because of the system. I don't really think it's because of Gardner's abilities. I think when you take a look at how Rex played defense, it was a defense that had strength, power, veteran experience, leadership, speed. I mean, they really, from top to bottom, it was a sound unit. They were well coached, and you saw that every single time they suited up. But with Revis, he kind of felt like the trump card, right? Like this is the X factor in Rex Ryan's back pocket. Oh yeah, we have Cromartie. Yeah, we have a stout defensive line. Right, guys that can go in there and stuff the run. We have 2 smart safeties, Jim Leonard, Eric Smith. Great linebacking core. But we also have this cornerback by the name of Darrelle Revis who can step in and shut down any offensive weapon that we choose. Anyone. Gronk, whoever it may be. We could put Revis on him and he's going to have a quiet day. Whereas with Saleh's defense, to me it seems more of a talent-driven system, in my opinion, right? In other words, the more talent you have on this defense, the better it's going to perform. Of course, you can make that argument for lots of different defenses out there and offenses as well. But one thing that you saw with Rex was, his ability to take, lesser talent and really put them in positions to have success, hide certain guys, expose certain guys, really exploit offense's weaknesses. Put opposing quarterbacks in positions where they're confused, right? They're hitting their back foot and they're like, oh man, I don't know where to go with the football. With Saleh's defense, it's like, this is what we're going to do every single week. This is who we are. And again, the more talent, the more athletes, the more speed we add, the better we're going to get. A good example is San Francisco's defense, right? It's, they go from Saleh to D'Amico Ryans down to Steve Wilks. They're not missing a beat, right? They fired Steve Wilks after the Super Bowl, and I'm sure it's not going to miss a beat in 2024. But the point is, in Saleh's defense, it kind of feels like the 11 players are 11 gears to a system. They're 11 gears powering one machine, which is a great defense. And that's what Gardner is in this style of scheme. Whereas with Rex's defense, it's like, okay, no, we're really good, but we have this ultimate super weapon in Darrelle Revis, this Hall of Fame caliber player that can blanket any player we want. Like, talk about an absolute luxury. Talk about an advantage when it comes to, calling a defensive game or game planning for an opposing offense. Like, who should we just shut down this week? Like, who has the ability to say that, right? Like, just throughout the years. Whereas, again, with Saleh and Sauce, it feels like a bunch of gears working together to present or to power this machine. And the question with Sauce isn't, can he follow a number one wide receiver? It's, why isn't he shadowing the number one wide out? Which is a fair question, right? Because, again, Gardner, in my opinion, can do it. But I think the reasoning behind it is just the style of defense that Saleh wants to play, right? It's less confusion. Everybody knows where they need to be. We already have two good corners, and throw in the slot corner Michael Carter as well. We have three cornerbacks that's, in my opinion, maybe I'm biased, but in my opinion, excel at the position. They excel at what they're being asked to do. The Jets already have a top defense in football. In my opinion, I think that the Jets are going to have the number one defense in 2024. Why mess with that? If you're Robert Saleh, that's probably what he's looking at, right? Like, the system is time tested. Richard Sherman is kind of the player that everybody references. Like, okay, well, he's not shadowing, the number one option. He's not just lining up on the tight end and just, letting him have one catch, two catches all game, and that's it. Whereas, again, with the Revis-led Rex Ryan defense, it's like, okay, we're going to take Revis, put him on a player, and then build around that. And Richard Sherman played in this same exact defense, right, under Pete Carroll, with Robert Saleh, whether it was back in Seattle or in San Francisco, right? It kind of feels like Gardner is in that more so style of role compared to what we've seen from Darrell. And by the way, here's a really, really cool graphic from PFF. I'm not the biggest PFF person, but I do think there is merit to this here, because you take a look at the common trend with all these different numbers. They go down in every single case. Tyreek Hill, reception grade since 2022, 94.5, versus Gardner, it's 41.7. He's played in 3 games against Gardner. And you just go down the list. Justin Jefferson, it's lower when he's against Gardner. Jalen Waddle, lower against Sauce. Nico Collins, lower against Sauce. And the list speaks for itself. Diggs, DK Metcalf, Courtland Sutton, George Pickens. These are going to be the number, quote unquote, number one wide receivers that Gardner is going to have to face this upcoming season. And of course, it's not every single wide receiver that he's going to be playing against. I do think that's a cool graphic right there, because it shows a trend. It shows when a top receiver lines up against Gardner, his numbers go down. And I think if you're a head coach of a football team, whether this is how you want to play defense or not, whether you're open to change or not, the data speaks for itself. The data is showing you, right? Again, we know the size, we know the speed, we know the quickness, we know the instincts, we know the all-pros, we know the rookie of the year. We know him, we know Gardner was an elite college prospect. But even with that said, we got a bunch of data with Gardner at the NFL level, just putting on a show against these star wide receivers. I think, again, as a head coach, you have to take that in consideration. So I'm not expecting Saleh to change his defensive philosophy. I'm not really expecting him to, move Gardner and just have him shadow the number one all game. But I could see in a playoff game, if we have to go up against, a star, if we have to play the Bengals or something like that, I could see Gardner shadowing Chase for the majority of the game, because it's a high pressure situation and Gardner is your best bet at the cornerback position. But I think, again, there's a lot of reasons why Saleh hasn't done it, hasn't just let Sauce loose and just let him shadow. I think, again, because of the system, because it's time tested, because DJ Reed is a really, really good football player as well. Saleh's response was possibly in regards to, will we see it more this season? But we'll see how it plays out. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you were running the Jets, would you just let Gardner shadow the number one, or are you just sticking to the script and looking at these fantastic defensive numbers and saying it's clearly working? And now we add Hassan Reddick, and we're a little bit more healthy at the safety position, right? And you would assume that these numbers are going to go up. Also, lesser talented offenses that the Jets are going to have to be playing this season. To me, on paper, just using common sense, that does equate to probably some more production. So anyway, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. I appreciate it. And as always, go Jets.